Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a hopefully brief walk around Gettysburg College. And some of you might say, well, what are you doing here off campus? And I'll tell you. Gettysburg College was founded as Pennsylvania College, and it occupied this building from its founding in 1832. It became Gettysburg College, by the way, in 1921. From its founding in 1832 until it moved to the current campus location farther north on Washington Street. Right now we're on Washington Street and High Street. At any rate, this building, what they became known as the Old Academy building, was built around 1813 to 1814 for the Gettysburg Academy. It was the original home of the Lutheran Theological Seminary between 1826 and 1832, and then of Gettysburg College, then Pennsylvania College, from 1832 until 1837, when the college moved to its current campus, and that's where we're heading next. I want to make a quick stop before I got onto the campus. This is a picture of what the campus looked like in 1863 at the time of the Battle of Gettysburg. You see the three original or oldest buildings on the campus. The two outer buildings are still in existence. The one on the right, what we call now Pennsylvania Hall, originally was called the Edifice. It was the first building on campus. And the second and third, you'll see the middle building is no longer there, but I just wanted to show you the original layout of the campus, which the picture is taken from about, or I should say the sign is posted from about where the picture was taken. You can't really see much now, but we're heading there. Just a brief stop before we enter the campus. This building, now owned by the college, was the home starting in June of 1918 of then Captain Dwight Eisenhower, who had been given command of Camp Colt, the southeastern end of town. This building is now owned by the college, and it is home of what is called the Eisenhower Institute. And as I head to the campus, give you a look at the building. Now we're going to head to the original part of campus. When I was a student here, we used to call this area Old Quad. I don't know if they still call it that. Heading through the very nice entryway presented by the class of 1893. The first chapel, Brewer Chapel, then Brewer Hall, and now the Klein Theater. This is the only building on campus that is mentioned in the alma mater, although it is not one of the original buildings. I'll talk about that in just a moment. This part of campus, the original part, I should say, of campus, was built on land that was given by Thaddeus Stevens, who also helped secure the charter for the college. And here is the original building, what was originally I guess known as the edifice. This is the building into which the college moved in 1837, and it was the college. Classrooms, library, chapel, residence for students, the president, some of the professors, everything went on here. To the north behind this building would have been the outhouses and the wash house and so forth. The next buildings to be built would be the residence of the president, and there would have been a building in this empty space that I'm facing. It was called the Linnean Hall, which held originally collections of some sort. I think its last use was as a gymnasium, but it's no longer there. It was demolished, I believe, in the 1940s. Buildings have come and gone. The next expansion in the late 1880s. This is a gorgeous building. It's tough to see with all the trees blocking it, but this was known as the new Recitation Hall, built in the late 1880s. It's now known as Gladfelter Hall. And at roughly the same time, Brewer Chapel was built. The next addition in the expansion was what was at the time in the 1890s what was then a modern state-of-the-art new dormitory. And then the last of the newer buildings in Old Quad was originally built as the library. Now things change. In the 50s they built a new chapel, which we'll get to later, and the old chapel was renovated and became the music building, the music department. Then in the late 70s, they built a new library, and the music department and art department moved into what was formerly the library. Music and art are still in that building, and then what had originally been the chapel and then the music building was renovated again into theater arts. As far as I know, this building that was originally a dormitory, I think it's still called McKnight Hall after one of the former college presidents, is an academic building, as is Gladfelter Hall. The president's building, I'm not 100% sure anymore. I know what all the buildings that were here when I was a student, I know what they were used for then. I'm not entirely sure what all of them are used for now. Now behind these academic buildings are several of what were fraternity houses. I don't know which ones are still fraternity houses. A lot of the housing is turning into what is known as special interest housing, whether it be having to do with your area of academic interest or some other interest. Another academic building there, which was originally the Y, and it served as kind of the student center. It had a swimming pool. There was a fire at some point and it was renovated and rebuilt. That is now an academic building. Again, here we have the library, Musselman Library. College was originally a fraternity house long before my time, but anyhow. More academic buildings to my right. Masters Hall. I'm not 100% sure if memory serves. I think this was called McCreary Hall, but at any rate, these two were science buildings, and then behind them is the relatively new Science Center, very large building. Another, maybe a better view of Gladfelter Hall, the recitation hall from the rear. I'm going to go around to the back of the Science Center because that's again, that's a fairly new building, but that was, it's a fairly impressive building. And these buildings on the other side of this street are fairly new, and as far as I know, they're now part of the college, but they're maintenance type facilities as far as I know. And we're going to head back . To my left is the football stadium, Musselman Stadium, and I believe they have dedicated the football field itself as Shirk Field. All those buildings off in the distance, and I'm not going to walk back there. That's all housing. That area is known as the quarry. Was a quarry. I don't know if it's still there. There was a quarry hole back there filled with water, and there were no buildings there when I was a student. But now you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I count 7 peaks of roofs of all new housing. When I started here, this building to the right, Apple Annex, and its accompanying Apple Hall, were the newest dormitories on campus. At that time, they were still 15 or 16 years old, and they were eventually turned into college-owned campus apartments. I presume they still are, but I don't know that for a fact. Here, the John Jager Center is a fitness athletic facility. Pretty much everything to the left of the stop sign is relatively new. The area to the right, well, at least it was the field house, has been there for many, many years. Just a quick look at this to give you an idea. 40 years ago, this area was all college owned, and of course you had your football stadium, you had the Bream field house, the dining hall, health center, a few other things. This area was owned by the campus. None of this was they were just starting to acquire these things, which were homes, buildings, motels. They bought the Gettysburg Hotel and renovated it, the Majestic Theater. Again, this was part of the campus at that time, but it's been expanding. Okay, back to the real tour. Again, this is residential. When these became apartments, to the best of my knowledge, it was the first campus housing to be air conditioned. And as we walk by some of the dorms, you'll see air conditioners in the windows. We were not allowed to have those when I was a student. You could bring a fan. Okay, here we have the infirmary health center off to the left there. Closer to the left is the college dining hall. On my right is the College Union building, we used to call the Cub. The ballroom with a stage. Gone through a number of changes and transformations over the years. Currently, it does have the college bookstore. It has the mail room. It has a couple of dining options and snack options in the Union building itself. Then on the left is the dining hall. We used to call this, and I think they still call this, Servo, after Servomation, which was a company that catered it many, many years ago. The company's long gone, but the name stuck. Here's a new addition to the Union building. This far end I remember as a bowling alley, but that was long gone, probably 30, 35 years. I'm not going to head off to the left here, but basically you have some housing options, a couple of fraternity houses and some other housing. As I get back to the main part of campus, the College Union Building addition is called the Janet Morgan Riggs Student Center after a recent college president. She is not the current college president, but she is fairly recent. Another gymnasium, the Plank Gymnasium, named after Eddie Plank, Edward S. Plank, also known as Gettysburg Eddie, the professional baseball player. Here we have dormitories, some construction going on, so I can't go close, but Stein, Rice, and Paul Hall were dormitories. Used to be freshman dormitories. Again, there are a lot of different housing options. When I started here as a freshman, you stayed in a dorm and you were given a questionnaire and you could choose, do you want all male, female, or do you want a co-ed, and do you want to be with all freshmen, or do you want mixed class? And then after your freshman year, you could, if you were male, you could live in a fraternity house if you joined the fraternity. There weren't a lot of special interest housing. There wasn't, I should say, a lot of special interest housing. You could also, though, get an off-campus apartment. Here is the library. Pennsylvania Hall, the college edifice, old dorm, whatever you want to call it. Now standing north of it, looking south, kind of looks the same. Another academic building. Now, as I cross the street, well, before I cross the street, you have dormitories, and they form kind of a square. You see one along this street, and then along when heading out that way, closer to the next street is a parallel to this one. And there's another one, if you will, parallel to this at the opposite end, that make up 4 dormitories that, at least to my knowledge, used to be upper class. They're a bit nicer dormitories. Christ Chapel. Built in the 50s to replace the original Brewer Chapel. The college did for many, many years have mandatory chapel for students. That had been done away with by the time I was a student, but and I don't know how late it went, but at least into the 60s, I'm pretty sure. Maybe later, I don't know. Now, many of the houses on the left up here used to be privately owned, but many of them had been turned into apartments and off-campus housing, and now a lot of them have been bought by the college and are still off-campus housing, but special interest variety housing. This little building here, my understanding was it was originally built as the bookstore. When I was a student, it was a security office, and now it's financial aid. Now, as we near Carlisle Street, on the other side of Carlisle Street are buildings that, again, little by little have been bought up by the college. I think one or two might still be fraternity houses. Many of them were fraternity houses. Many were private houses. A lot, I guess, were built originally as professors' houses. There was a restaurant. Down the block there was a motel, another couple motels out that way, all bought by the college and turned into student housing. And as we head to Lincoln Square from here, the Majestic Theater and Gettysburg Hotel were also bought by the college. I'm not going to go there today, but if you watch on my channel my video of the walking tour of downtown, you will see those two buildings.
Like my host family.
Here's the college admissions office. Statue of President Eisenhower. After leaving the White House in 1961, former President and Commanding General Dwight David Eisenhower retired to his permanent Gettysburg home. The adjacent building, located on the campus of Gettysburg College at 300 Carlisle Street, was used by General Eisenhower as an office until his death in 1969. Here, General Eisenhower wrote 4 volumes of memoirs. I'm not going to read the rest of it if you want to pause it and read it, but this was General Eisenhower's campus office. He did have a farm on the outskirts of town. I mentioned to you the 3 original buildings of the campus, or I should say the original building and the 2 others that were here at the time of the battle, the 3 oldest buildings, 2 of which are still standing. The 4th building on the campus is this one, named Stevens Hall after Thaddeus Stevens. This was not here at the time of the battle. It was built, I believe, in 1868 or so, and it was a preparatory department, a prep school for the college. which is interesting. The college was kind of a prep school for the seminary, and this was the prep school for the college. And over there to the right, as we get to the main sign for the college, is another dormitory. And this is where I'm going to end our tour. Please like my videos, subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Feel free to comment. Feel free to share this video. Thank you very much for watching.